Hey guys, Piyush living on this channel is for educational purposes only and is not intended as financial advice. Let's take a look at some BTC and ETH charts. Now, I'm mainly a technical guy, but one thing I do pay attention to on the fundamental side is the active addresses. I like to ask myself, is the network popping off? Is on-chain activity hot? Does it support the current price rise? So the top is BTC, the bottom is ETH. You can see in general there's nothing too exciting here. ETH had a nice little pop. BTC had a nice little pop since the beginning of the year. It's sort of beginning to cool off again. I think in general things are getting boring again, which is good across the board. What you don't want to see is just day over day of insanity, because that can only last for a few days. You want to see slow boringness, some pullbacks, some patterns, trend being the trend, that sort of thing. So overall, nothing too crazy on the fundamental side. We do have a CME rollover coming up on the 28th this week in a few days. Typically, we see high volatility around these rollover periods. And again, this is probably going to be an up contract until June 26th. It's unlikely to be a massive bear move on balance. We can also look at the other contracts that they opened December 16th and December 30th. Those don't really have any immediate expiries until around halving. Looking at futures premium, continues to decay. This is good. Again, you want things boring if you're bullish. You want things resetting if you're bullish. You don't want patterns that are mega bear, but you want mean reversion, chill out mode, regather our strength, consolidate again, so we can continue the trend. So overall, I'm not seeing anything crazy on futures premiums. It's good that they're decaying, continue to decay pretty rapidly over the past few weeks, which is good. Coinbase versus Bitfinex, kind of flatline. Nothing exciting here. Again, boring, good. USDT, boring. It's at $1. What kind of stablecoin is that? It's at $1. You'll notice as soon as we topped, we went above $1 on USDT. The yellow highlights are USDT below $1. I almost didn't make a video today because I'm like, there's just nothing going on. And then I was like, no, those are the best times to make a video. So what am I expecting for the past 3 weeks now, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, is this C-clamp to play out. Basically, when you see this blue line and the red line, the Tenkin and the Kijun, expand rapidly as we did here, you get a bit of a MA type of oversold conditions. You can see here, excuse me, this is overbought, this is oversold. So you can see here, TK lines were spread out. And at the time, I was also thinking, okay, we're probably not going to keep going. At bare minimum, we're going to go sideways and figure some stuff out before we go down more. But odds are pretty high that we're going to actually reverse towards the Kijun. And eventually we did. Same thing here, same principle. You can think of it as a TK disequilibrium. This isn't a large one historically, but once the range is set, once the range high, range low is set, 50% of that is set. That's it. That's all she wrote. Until we make a new high, this is going to continue to be here, unless we just go sideways for 2 weeks, which is possible. I think it's unlikely. I think a dip is higher than a pop at this point. The only thing, and I mean the only thing, that is stopping me from just shorting this entire market is this coronavirus stuff, which continues to just appear around the world overnight, everywhere, slowly. So it's hard to say how much of that stuff is correlated to legacy markets versus legacy markets being in a bubble, how much crypto is uncorrelated asset class to legacy versus correlated to gold. Is it a safe haven? Like, these are all questions you're going to have to think about as we enter this interesting and awkward time. Looking at the 4 hour, which I dial down the time frames if we're actually moving, if we're sideways, you can see the cloud. We're above the cloud, we're in the cloud, we're below the cloud. There's no signal here. It's all noise, right? You can say, okay, Josh, that's retrospective. What the hell do you know? Okay, sure. But as soon as the trend starts moving, we go above it, go back in the cloud, we go above it again. Now we're below the cloud for the first time since January, early January. So if I want to be long again, I want to be long when price is up here, above the cloud. This is the first time actually that everything, the stars have aligned on the 4-hour for the BTC cloud, just turning bearish, prices below cloud, TK is already bearish. You're waiting for a lagging span to get below cloud here. But together with my bear goggles, this just enhances my we're going to pull back narrative. Switching gears to ETH, if we look at the DeFi landscape, you can see that it popped over 1.2 billion, and then it's just decayed a little bit here. Had some uncertainty recently regarding flash loans multiple times for BZK. That's an interesting story if you haven't heard anything about it. So check that out. So yeah, ETH value to USD value rather has pulled back from 1.2, and ETH locked up has definitely dropped from 3.2 to 2.8 million. So again, if I'm uber bullish, I just want to see this ramping. I want to see USD value ramping, right? So similar to active addresses, like this is just another check in the system. Should I be uber bullish based on what's happening right now, based on what people are doing with their ETH? I think the answer right now is no. I think the rest of the year, it's going to be super interesting. What is this? A wild silver chart appeared. So we'll look at the monthly silver cloud. It looks very similar to high time frame ETH cloud. So just as silver is calling for 29 between now and 2023, the ETH chart is calling for 760, 750 between now and the end of the year, let's say. 2x plus from here. Sounds insane. Why is this the case? Well, again, we put in a range and we've gone sideways. So this cloud, this thick cloud, this flat Kumo is equivalent to any other flat line in the system. You know, this flat Kijun was, we put in a high, we put in a low, stayed in the range. This flat cloud, we put in a high, we put in the low, we stayed in the range. What I'm looking for in the next few months is a bullish TK recross of the TK lines. Bullish TK recross of the TK lines. Yeah, that's what I said. So you're looking for this bullish cross here as price enters the cloud. That's really like the ultimate edge-to-edge move would be we're in the cloud, we have a bullish TK cross, and our target is 760. Obviously, it's going to be a bear to break 300, 350, you know, this low, this high, this resistance, etc., etc., etc. But it's got this W, Adam, Eve, Adam thing. It's all bullish, reversal. We'll see fundamentally what happens with the network. But that's what the technicals want. The technicals want this puppy to moon, ETH moon. High time frames, just looking at this, when I see this, it looks flaggy. We'll look at it on low time frames, flaggy. It's getting these wicks and just continued bearish engulfing, which is pretty funny, over and over again. So if you're trading this, you're probably getting chopped up pretty good, unless you're continually selling highs and buying higher lows. You know, it's a bear to trade this, I think, for anybody right now, just because it's all over the place. It's a mess. So it's high volatility-ish, but it's clamping down. I didn't actually look at B-bands, but B-bands are probably tightening here on the like 12-hour or something. So we're coiling for a move, certainly. Cloud is calling to 206 to 210-ish. Pitchfork, 220 probably. Again, you've got this C-clamp here. We've completely blown out most of the moving averages, so they're kind of irrelevant until something happens. You know, if we pull back, then we know the targets, and based on mean reversion, we should move to those means, but doesn't mean we will, obviously. My money's not on us continuing to moon in the near term, but there's a pattern here that says that might happen. And it's going to do it without me, most likely, if it does. Looking at ETH USD again with yearly pivots and VPVR, what you never want to see is price going into the yearly pivot into a VPVR zone and getting rejected. So again, I feel like I'm just saying, like, if this then that, it'll go up or down nonsense. But, you know, if we break this level, it's bullish. I don't expect it to break this level. I don't expect it to break the R1 in the near term. I expect us to actually go back to between 200 and 220. I expect RSI to pull back to 50. RSI was insane. So yeah, I mean, the expectation's still boring pullback nonsense. Sky is falling. Again, the moving average is completely blown out. We're looking at 190 to 215 zone as far as the 50 and the 200 on the daily here. So if we pull back, I'm highly confident we're headed for those price targets. Looking at the 4-hour cloud versus BTC, again, we're not exactly as bearish as BTC is here, but it is set up for a nice edge to edge, at least from 262 to 240. So there's that in the works. This is a bit of a garbly mess, so it's hard to be just mega bull here. Obviously, the metrics are leaning bull, and the cloud is no threat of turning bearish, but it does have this edge-to-edge bear setup. RSI is kind of already reset, so if anything, this is evidence for more bullish continuation. What I'd probably want to see is the higher high past 280. Then I'll have to reconsider my life at that point. But until then, I'm expecting down for sure. For sure. Put me in the down column. ETH BTC zooming way out. Nothing super exciting as far as, mega resistance. Obviously 035, 032. There's the yearly pivot. There's the VPVR. It's overbought. Clearly, it's kind of resetting. This looks like an ascending triangle. So again, it might not surprise me if we don't get our 202 pullback on ETH, but we do get a pullback on BTC, and then ETH BTC creeps up, breaks that high. But ETH BTC also wants a return to the mean. I don't know what this actually is. 025, 022, whatever that zone is. Let's look at the lower time frame. Yeah, 0225, something like that. And just because I talk about divs all the time, I don't ever really mention them. You can see we got a higher high here, lower high RSI. That's what you're looking for when you are talking about trend reversals. And again, ETH BTC looks bullish on the 4-hour. Clearly, it's above the cloud, blah, blah, blah. It looks way better than BTC does. Definitely. All right, that's all I have for this one. Like, dislike, comment, share, subscribe, hit me up on Twitter, and happy trading.